What's up, guys? I'd like to welcome you to this attempt at going a bit fundamental. We are going to look at the basic value proposition of truth and why it matters that it is decentralized and on the hypergraph network. So, enjoy.
Now, looking at the value of truth, we are first going to get some inspiration from Mr. Russell's. This is from the 1950s, and he is answering a question about what advice he would have for future generations watching this.
The intellectual thing I should want to say to them is this. When you are studying any matter or considering any philosophy, ask yourself only what are the facts and what is the truth that the facts bear out. Never let yourself be diverted either by what you would wish to believe or by what you think could have beneficent social effects if it were believed. But look only and solely at what are the facts.
All right, guys, we're going to go through the value of truth. I am on my second beer. My little sister, she just came over to visit, so we're just going to go through this quickly. If you just say hi to the guys.
Hi guys, I missed the swap.
All right, and there we go. The value of truth. Why? Facts matter. Now, let's talk about what truth means for us humans. And I think it works like this. Like when we assume we are making an informed decision, our mind is analyzing the situation at hand. It's comparing it with all the available data we have stored. You can call this experience or memory. And then we develop or create a new story or theory with that data as the foundation. For example, when you are in the supermarket and deciding what toothpaste to buy, your subconscious is gathering all the data you already have accumulated and producing a preference. Now you feel this is the toothpaste that's perfect for you, given the price and promises it gives. But how do you know that the data you are basing your decisions on are accurate? Well, you kind of don't. And for most of human history, our data has been way off. For example, it is only in the last 150 years or so visiting the doctor would actually give you an edge against any disease. Prior to that, you were much better off just staying at home. So how does all of this work? Well, my guess is that your mind has something resembling a confidence probability number. And that number, let's say it's from 1 to 100, is going to be associated with every person you know. So every person you know is filed in your mind with a probability number. How much do you trust them? And now when you meet new people, you automatically give them a ranking based on whatever whatever your interpretation or your impression is of them, right? Now, maybe you categorize them subconsciously, and when they inform you of something, this number, like the 1 to 100 number again, is going to determine to what extent you believe them and to what extent you will now integrate this new piece of information in your day-to-day operations. All right, so I'm going to give you two examples, right? So first, we have the Holy Wars. So Yuval Harari's book Sapiens is really awesome. Recommend you guys checking it out. And basically, the power of IDs is pretty strong. So like, I remember 600 years ago or so, a lot of priests told the young European boys, hey guys, you know what's going to be awesome if you go to this other part of the world and then you like fight for, the Holy Land. That's going to be a great experience. Now, because this was from a point of authority, this was considered truth, and a bunch of people went. And, I don't know, I wasn't there, didn't experience it, but it does seem like it kind of sucked. And most people probably died from malnutrition rather than actual fighting. I'll give you another example. Let's say your partner informs you that dinner will be at 5 p.m. That's the kind of fact you just take on face value. It takes calories to challenge information, right? So if there's a high confidence probability from whatever source you're getting the information, you're just going to assume it's true. So your partner says dinner at 5, then you show up at 5. Now, specifically using storytelling or evolving storytelling, humanity as such actually achieved scalability, right? So you know, you have like wolves and stuff that work in small packs where everybody's genetically super interconnected. However, we can cooperate with strangers just by bonding through common IDs and visions, just like we do in the Constellation community. But human scalability that we achieved is not actually based on truth. It's kind of more based on randomness and whatever happened to work out. Now, as an evolutionary tool, we always try to figure stuff out, right? So once we figured it out, we can use our mental energy on something else. And that's probably why you get religions and myths in the first place, so that your body can go, awesome, that explains it. Now let's think about how we can get more food and reproduce. All right, so back to truth again, right? The thing is, with Bitcoin in 2009, for the first time in human history, we had an objective reference point of truth, and a new kind of money was created that could not be influenced by human social behavior, governments, banks, anything else. It's just math, it's just out there. Nobody can fuck with it. The difference between the Constellation hypergraph and the Bitcoin network at its core, is the amounts of data it can validate. Now, with the achievement of launching the hypergraph last month, in the end of April 2020, you can now validate basically any amount of data you want. All right, guys, so I'm going to let the team take it from here. I'm going to take you to this awesome clip, which is one of my favorites, so I'll hope you'll enjoy.
And when you're talking about streams of data, like why it is, it's really fascinating because nobody can handle, and this is where the whole conversation of throughput. And our focus at Constellation is handling massive amounts of streaming data. Just think of like how much data is streamed on like a Netflix or YouTube, that no distributed ledger technology can handle that because of one, their architecture, two, their consensus model. And while people are making rapid changes, they're not really focused on those use cases. So it's not like who's better, who's worse. We're just addressing a vision that we see that there's going to be a need to process streaming data and create a scalable audit trail that then can be queryable and can be used in the next generation of business applications.
Yeah, guys, I just had to pause there. I'm getting really excited. I hope you are too. The reason I had to pause is that my sister, she was watching this and she just had one quick comment.
Wow, that's bullish.
All right, boys, it's been confirmed. I will hand it back to Wyatt now. Thank you very much.
I mean, I think you really hit it on the head. I mean, it's something that it's not only just. I mean, it's not that it's asked for, but not even necessarily in the way that it's like people are concerned about finding ways to secure even just their APIs, like, right? Like, how do I get access to who can get certain things? And the second that you have just a centralized like certificate authority or something doing identity management, that becomes incredibly vulnerable. And I mean, like, it's kind of a huge aha moment to think that there's a new way of providing this essentially identity and authentication management without relying on some centralized server somewhere that's actually it's quite vulnerable. So it's going to allow and enable certain types of applications that a lot of people could and should be concerned with the safety and the impact of.
Yeah, I'll kind of touch on there. Something that we internally also talk about as a group is just like really creating a community that owns the data, that validates, and maybe ownership isn't the right word, and correct me if I'm wrong, but or think of a better word, but it's like we're creating a network that governs massive amounts of data versus the multinational conglomerates like Facebook and Google that have figured out how to monetize your data,
right?
And nobody else can. And we're still using these applications, and they're starting to make attempts to like, oh, we're going to pay you guys some of what we make off of our revelations about your data and how you connect to different things. And No longer is the social graph seen as cool, but it's like, wow, they're making a crap load of money. And we're trying to create an infrastructure that people govern their data and massive amounts of data. And our architecture, DAG, kind of allows for that versus the synchronous nature of Ethereum, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it just allows us to actually process all the information with the same tools that these centralized multinational conglomerates are making tons of money and hacking your elections off of. I mean, absolutely, that's exactly what's happening, and we all know it. And I think from my own personal motivation, the ability to have a public source of decentralized, verifiable truth. It is going to change the game of there's not going to be policy, there's not going to be just ethics or incentive-based policy in government. It's all going to be incredibly data-driven, and I think that the ability for people to make their own decisions and educated choices to be able to differentiate what they see in the media and what they see in sort of like this invisible blinder that I think is on that we don't realize is happening when we use all of our devices and are subject to advertising and targeted, search and things like that. It just creates a common ground of there are facts, and the ability to have to discern and to verify these facts is it's kind of hard to believe that it's literally now that we have the ability to truly say well, you make a claim, can you show me some kind of accessible, publicly verified, data behind that? And obviously, if somebody mentioned that before, I mean, I think people just sort of accept the fact that it would have to come from some kind of trusted source. But this really just enables all of us to have a referential source of truth to make decisions on, almost at a large national or even species level that typically was left up to whether it's policymakers or large stakeholders in the economy. And I think that from beyond the world peace hippie aspect, it's also just going to enable really simple but really necessary things that we want, just having a accurate on-time transit system. You know what I mean? If you live in San Francisco, you ever dealt with
simple as that?
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. That's a real world thing. If you can have some kind of verifiable, hey, this is where things are, and you can automate things, or at least hold people and systems accountable, and really not deal with some, difficult system.
All right, guys, so that's it from me. Now, welcome everybody to the revolution. We're going to change the world, and it's going to be fucking incredible. Have a lovely day.